Hey, what's going on, guys? A buddy of mine just messaged me not too long ago, and he said his GPS went out. Like I guess he's got like a Rand McNally. Like I don't know, he's had it for a while, and he loves it to death, and it crapped out on him. And he was asking me what he needs GPS in a pinch, and I told him to use what I thought to me is good, and I didn't say Google Maps. That's what I wanted to talk about. I didn't want to get into like too far of basically like a premise of what kind of led me to making this video. Because I had thought about it and I was like, I was like, why would anyone do that? Like, I get it, like plug and play kind of thing, but um, the different options that you have at your disposal with an H, disposal, um, for GPS. So let's just get right into it. There's a couple of different options you have. So you have, we'll call it Garmin slash like Rand McNally type GPSs, where it's kind of like, just your basic, take it out of the box, plug it in, probably might ask you to log in or something. Um, I know the recent ones at the diesel, Garmin diesel OTR type, they have it so you can go on the app and you can send this location to your GPS and it'll find it right away or something like that, right? So, um, not sure why that's cool or whatever. I mean, it's kind of like why use that? Like it's someone the guy was like, well, if I find it on my if I find it on my what you call it, like on my Google Maps, I can send it to my diesel, and I'm just like, okay, like just thinking about it, I don't know why anyone would need that. Um, I mean, I'm sure it works for some people, but there's really no way to justify that. Anyways, so pros and cons. So pros, I mean, it's plug and play. You take it right out. A lot of times they have for most users, a regular GPS would it's gonna work fine. They can go to the store, they can grab it, um, and everything will work fine. You'll be able to put in your wherever you want to go, and it's going to get you to where you want to go. It does have features, but for me, I think some of those features are cons, right? So like, unless you're an owner op and you don't have any kind of like ELD system, I can see why Garmin and like Rand McNally would have like an ELD type thing built in. But to be honest, I mean, the average user is probably not going to need that. I've used the Garmin diesel. Matter of fact, my trainer's got one, and he's like, it's got live traffic and it zooms in on like a satellite picture of where you're at, so you can find the. And I'm like, yeah, I've seen that shit. Like I've used it because I've been driving his truck. So the first thing is the live traffic sucks. It only pops up every once in a while. Now I don't know if it's something you could do yourself. But for the most part, it's not very good. I mean, when we do run into traffic, there's nothing on the GPS that indicates that there's going to be traffic coming up on your route. It doesn't say like, oh, there's a wreck ahead, blah blah blah. It doesn't do that. So that's I don't know. To me, as a waste, I guess, like to make it a part of your like premium, like I'm not talking about the Garmin 1010, the big one, the big 10-inch, I guess GPS, if you want to call it that. It's also got what was that other feature on there? Where it zooms in for the satellite picture. So like when you get to your destination. So I've also used that. What the problem that I seem to have with it is when it zooms in, like when it zooms in to show you like the your destination or wherever you're pulling up to. If there's lots of points of interest, it blocks your view. So you see like this little square like that pops up in the top right corner, but then it's like zoomed in and everything. But then you'll see like your icon completely covered by all these little ones and twos and threes, and then all it is like restaurants and gas stations, and so you can't even see where you're at. And that's another thing. It doesn't have a satellite view. It's just like its own specific view, like that black and bluish looking. Not like a Google Maps where you can change it to satellite to show like the trees and all that. It doesn't really have that. I mean, and if it does, I think it does the same shit where like it shows the thing or whatever, like the little points of interest. It's kind of annoying. I guess it works okay for like truck stops and things, but I think there's better apps out there that do a better job. especially with it's like they made a GPS specifically for truckers, but then didn't have a trucker there with them, right? So when they made it of things that we would like, that like more convenience type features, um, especially knowing that a lot of guys are gonna have that GPS, right? So it just makes sense. Now I'm saying Garmin, but I'm also speaking on Rand McNally too. Like a lot of their, to me as a con, um, a lot of their power, like their, the power blocks that you use to plug them in, a lot of them are proprietary. And what I mean by that is back in the day, everyone who's been alive longer than 10 years knows that, the little micro USB cords, like you probably got a ton of them laying around the house and you're not sure what it goes to, but they all look the same, all the holes the same on everything. Back in the day, it used to be like that. Now they make a lot of things proprietary, so that way it's only can be used for that. You can't go out and go get a cheaper one or whatever. Um, at least if you used something like a tablet, an Android or an iPhone, or I say an iPhone, but an iPad or like an Apple tablet, at least you can get those cords are a dime a dozen. You can get those anywhere. So I think you might be seeing what I'm getting at. So to me, your first option is going to be your typical plug and play Garmin GPS, Rand McNally GPS, TomTom type GPSs that are specifically made for a trucker. Okay, your second option is going to be an Atlas, which honestly, I don't consider that your second option. I'm these are in no particular order, so don't to go. Oh well, then my number two option is going to be the Atlas. It's a good backup. I think it can be like if you get to a certain area, like you say you get to Atlanta or something, and you need to kind of see, where to go and that kind of thing. If you really, really needed it, but to me, it should be like emergency use only, right? So like if you absolutely needed it, there's no other way, you have no power or something like that. I mean, chances of that are pretty slim to none. But if you, for whatever reason, you needed it, as far as navigation is concerned, then cool, have an Atlas. But it does have a lot of good information in the beginning of that book, and I think some towards the end. But it has like a lot of like emergency type situation, like the phone numbers. It's got phone numbers to just about everyone and their mother. Like, I mean, it shows a lot of good information, So I think they're good to have. I think it's a good tool, but it's not something that is, to me, is practical to use for like navigation on a day-to-day basis, right? I mean, if you can think about it, let's say you don't have a GPS, let's say you have a flip phone, right? And you always use an Atlas, right? Use a map. I mean, you'd have to have that thing. You're going to multiple states, lots of places. It doesn't show truck stops, doesn't show like things that are nearby. So if you're really like that guy that is like on the like kind of lagging behind the technology spectrum, I think you'd be surprised if you just got something, just a really basic tablet or something, would be better than using the Atlas. I'm not saying an Atlas is bad. I'm just saying, today's navigation, it's not really, it's a good emergency situation, but not something I would use for an everyday navigation. So your other option, so let's say you don't want to go out and buy I think the Garmin GPS, we talked about the 1010, that's a 10-inch. I think it's $1,000. The Rand McNally's are a little bit cheaper, but for the most part, you can expect to spend anywhere between $150 to $1,000, depending on the GPS you buy, the size, and accessories and everything else, right? Now, your other options, say you don't want to do that, and say you don't really want to use an Atlas because, like, man, I'm not 90 years old, I just I can plug and play and that kind of thing. One of your options, let's say your other option, your other option is to also use the Qualcomm. If you work for a company, so like me, Prime Inc., or you got some guys that work for CFI or Swift or whatever, they've got their own Qualcomm. I say Qualcomm, but they've got their own little computer built into the truck, right? So it might be PeopleNet, it could be Qualcomm, it could be whatever company they decided to use. So you can do that way too. They usually have a GPS built into them. I don't like them that much. To me, they're slow. They're basically featureless. I mean, they're not very good. Very good like in a pinch, but not something that I would probably realistically use every day. I do use it a lot, obviously, on the truck that I'm on, because that's the way he wants it done. He does have the big Garmin like in there, and to me, it'd be a little bit smarter just to use that. And then use the Qualcomm as a backup, because the other one, honestly, sometimes it routes you in like some pretty weird places. And I'm sure they all do that, but the Qualcomm, I remember it tried to get us to go to a gas station that was way out of our route, and by the time we realized it, it was too late. Not saying that happens all the time, but you know, I think that it does a good job. Like if you wanted to do like fuel planning, like if you wanted to know the cheapest place, but you can still use that. You don't have to use that their navigation system, right? So you can put in there where the cheapest is, and then you can just route yourself, right? You can just route yourself there. You can just add it as a stop. And then that's about it. You don't have to, and then you don't even have to use where they're saying to go. Sometimes it's not the cheapest. Maybe you might find someone that's a little bit cheaper. So, and will it be worth it to go out of your way to pay less than like 3 cents less as opposed to staying right where you're at? And you might have some, it might be 3 cents more, but it's not out of the way, right? So it's little things like that. Like it's okay, but not something that I would probably go for. So I think the best option, at least for me, and this is something I just kind of decided while I'm being at home. I was telling my wife about it. I just got this tablet. That's what I'm recording on currently. It's a ninth iPad, ninth generation. So it's not the latest, greatest thing. And honestly, I didn't need it for that. I'm using it for work. So really, I'll be using it for like, jotting stuff down or looking up satellite images and being able to do my paperwork like through the Prime app and all that. I'm going to use it for that. That way I don't have to use like this tiny screen, and I'd rather just use my phone for like playing games sometimes and things like that. But anyways, one of the things I'm also going to use it for is my GPS, my navigation. So there's a couple different apps out there. We could sit here all day and talk about the different apps that offer truck path or like truckers path of like navigating. Trying to think of a good word, like navigating big trucks like through the city and things like that. You can't just use a Google Maps. So Google Maps is good I would say in a pinch, but you really need to pay attention because it's not going to give you like low crossings, low bridges, and just stuff like that. It's not designed for truckers. It's really designed for cars and personal vehicles. It's not really designed for. Now you can use it for like live traffic. You can use it for satellite imagery, so you can you can look at the location that you're going to. But it's not it's not a trucker GPS by any means. So it's not something that I would use. Good for other tools like satellite stuff, but not good for using that for navigation if you're in a big truck. So there is one out there called MRTERR, which is free. It doesn't have as many features as a lot of the ones you see on the App Store. I mean, not something that I would recommend probably, but some people, I have seen people that use MRTERR, and they don't complain about it because it's free. You don't have to pay anything. There's no subscription, nothing like that. So that's why a lot of guys use MRTERR. The ones that some guys do pay for and absolutely love it, Trucker Path. There's an app called Trucker Path. Now, I'm not sponsored by any apps or anything like that, but it's what I'm going to use. And the reason why is if you ever talk to anybody and say, well, how do you know where truck stops are? Trucker Path. Everyone uses Trucker Path. It's got navigation. It's got stops built into it. It's got different ways to pay. So you can pay like annually. I know like on the gold one, you can pay annually and monthly. And then like the diamond version, you can pay for every 6 months, a year. And I think there's 2 years, I want to say. And then it has like a team one too. So if you own like a fleet, so let's say you're an owner op, you got a couple trucks underneath you or whatever, or maybe you're just a small company starting up. It's got an option for multiple trucks. I don't know what that costs, but basically the gold version is $14.99 a month. $14.99 a month, that's pretty cheap. I mean, honestly, when it comes down to it, do you have to go out and buy $1,000, GPS? Not really. Just to put it in perspective, like why not just use a tablet? The 10-inch Garmin. So it crashed. This was like last week. Something happened and it crashed. And you know what I saw on the bottom? If you've ever had an Android phone or a tablet, and it's got like that little triangle at the bottom and then a circle and then a square. One's the back button, one's the home button, and one's like the extra options button. Those are the buttons I saw on the bottom of it, and I was like, oh, it's an Android tablet. Also, basically all it is an Android tablet running with its own custom piece of software, which would be the Garmin GPS. And then all the components inside that tablet are designed to be optimized for that particular software. So it's not like you're doing something crazy. The only thing is you're having to do is pay a subscription to. But to be honest, $15 a month, that's pretty cheap. I think I did the math on it. So if you did, we'll talk. We'll say the Garmin GPS, right? So if you got the Garmin GPS, and paid, it's like $1,000. We'll just call it $1,000. So if you do the trucker path, 15 times 12, that's $180. If you pay yearly, it drops even further. It's $100. So we'll call it monthly. We'll just call it monthly, right? So let's see, if $180 a year, because if you're paying monthly. So we'll call, let's say over 5 years. Over 5 years, that's $900 that you would have paid just monthly, right? Just monthly. Now, if let's say you want to take advantage of paying it yearly, so it's $100 a year, you get a pretty good discount. That's what it is currently at the time of recording this video. They say it's a limited time, so I don't know what it actually costs. But $100, if in 5 years, obviously that's not rocket science, $500, right? So if you were to actually do that, let's say you got Trucker Path today and paid per year, you would have actually not paid $1,000 for 10 years. 10 years you would have used Trucker Path for 10 years before you got to the amount of what you paid up front for that Garmin GPS. And if that Garmin GPS breaks in any way, you gotta send it back to Garmin. If it doesn't have any more of a warranty on it, it's not like you can go get the screen replaced somewhere, right? If it's a tablet, say you got an iPad and the screen cracks, you can just go somewhere and get it replaced real quick. And a lot of times they replace it same day. So honestly, I mean, and like I said, this tablet I got, it's not the greatest thing in the world. iPad 9th generation, it's pretty quick. It's only a year old. And I think I paid $5 something for it. And so then I paid, they had a deal going on. So it was $150 off. So I think it was $330 is what I paid. And then of course overtime. So it's like $8 a month or something like that, on my phone bill. That's cheap. I mean, honestly, that's cheap. And even if you were to still include that in, call it $300, and doesn't say you paid yearly, I mean, I would still have to use it for what, 8 months, or I'm sorry, 8 years, 7 years, something like that, before I actually reached the point of it being worth $1,000, over $1,000, if it lasted that long. Honestly, to me, I think the tablet is better, and I think using Trucker GPS or Trucker Path is better. It also has live traffic, so you can turn on live traffic and see, just like Google Maps, where it's got or Apple Maps, where it's got like the green lines and the red lines, yellow lines, where you can see where traffic's backed up. It has the same stuff. You can change it over to satellite imagery, just like you can with Google Maps or Apple Maps. The biggest difference is this is an actual trucker GPS, so just for trucks and not for cars. Could you use it for cars? I'm sure you could. If a truck can fit through there, so could a car. Now, it's going to give you some of the routes might be a little bit different. And I know that sometimes when you use the Garmin and Random Nally, it does give you different routes to take. Like, you can use this route or this route. But honestly, think about it. What routes does it usually give you? It usually gives you like this really fast one. And then it gives you one that's like, oh, here, this adds another 2 hours. Yeah, let's choose that one. And then along that route, you can't even see where there's truck stops at. You have to wait till it pops up on the screen. And then you kind of got to choose. You can't just look and see ahead, It just has like 1, number 2, number 3. It doesn't show like a little loves icon or anything like that. And on Trucker Path, it does. You know exactly what's coming up. You can route yourself where there's going to be actual truck stops, instead of like sometimes Garmin's taking you in places where there ain't no damn truck stop and you ain't got nowhere to stop. So to me, Trucker Path is honestly, it's worth it, and it's cheap. It's cheap enough to where I think anyone can afford that. I mean, even just driving solo, you can definitely afford $15 a month. That's not shit. You can cancel it anytime. For some reason your your tablet breaks, you can just go and use your phone if you really needed to, as a backup. But a lot of times you can get a tablet, pretty cheap. Even the, I think it was the iPad Pros. I think the best one, it was like $800 or something. And then there was a couple other ones that were a little bit better, but they were still like $500-600. I mean, that's dirt cheap. In my opinion, that's dirt cheap. I mean, if you're gonna pay $1,000 for the best Garmin GPS, the diesel GPS that they have, you can pay half that and get a tablet and run Trucker Path and just pay it like that. And then just get a discount, pay per year, and you've saved yourself, a ton of money. Like I said, we talked about the proprietary charging, sometimes those little chargers that are only made for Garmin and can't be used by anything else. If that breaks on you, what are you going to have to do? You got to go to Amazon, got to go to Garmin, and hope they have an extra one that so you can order it. If your cable breaks on this, I can stop at any truck stop and get a cheap little iPhone cord that'll last me just until I can get a better one, or maybe I can find a better one. This iPad doesn't have wireless charging, but a lot of them do. And if you want to take advantage of that, great. Use the wireless charging. I don't need it, but it is an option out there. So I mean, honestly, I think Trucker Path is the best option, and I think that I've given you other options to think about. So you can use a Garmin or Rand McNally if you want the plug and play experience. If you're a little bit tech savvy, like you can go and get a tablet and just do it that way. If you want to just use an Atlas, you can do it that way. I think now in this generation there is a lot of ways to get around things, like a lot cheaper ways to do things. But I think a lot of people might be stuck in their way, like, oh, I need a GPS, so I'm just going to go ahead and get a Garmin. I don't have to worry about it. I can just plug it in. It's going to work great. But at least on my tablet, and it's got it to where it's got its own phone number or whatever, so it's got on the cellular network. So I can use it for anything. I can still use it for the internet. I can still send a text message through it. I can still search whatever I want to search on it. I can do all of that right from my tablet. I don't have to worry about, like, oh, let me go into my phone to do this and put it into the GPS. And I don't have to do all that. If I want to send a pin drop, I can still do that right off a tablet, right? If I find a place on the Google Maps or Apple Maps, I can pin drop. I can save the coordinates and then put it right into Trucker Path if I really needed to do that. I don't have to get an app from my phone to send from my phone to the thing. And, I think even the Garmin GPS that my trainer's got, it makes it so you can connect your phone, like Bluetooth, to the thing, to it. So it plays like music or something. I don't know. It's just another, to me, a useless feature I think a lot of what those is a lot of useless features that you're probably not even going to use. And that you could easily get something cheaper like an iPad and do all of the same stuff, right? I know somebody asked today, how come you can't use Trucker Path on Apple Maps? Or it was not Apple Maps, it's what is it called? The Apple Go or whatever it is, oh man, somebody just said it too. It's now the radio's built in, it's got your Apple CarPlay, and then it's got the Android one too. Apple CarPlay has to support Trucker Path, right? And honestly, it doesn't really. They're not going to do that, right? So I can understand why somebody would want to see that, but he was like, "Well, it'd be on a bigger screen," and I was like, "Well, get a tablet." I responded to him. I said, "Get a tablet." I was like, "Honestly, it's a little bit better." What's the difference? Oh, I got to get a mount for it. Well, you would have to do the same thing with the Garmin GPS. Yeah, it'll come with it. But say you want the biggest one. Well, what's the difference between that 10-inch GPS and this 10-inch tablet? Nothing. It's not different. It's going to mount in the same spots and all that stuff. And honestly, you have more options. You can use this to watch movies on. You can use it you can use it for lots of different things. There's lots of different types of holders and cases and keyboards for it. I mean, it's like having just all in one, right? So honestly, I think, in my opinion, that's the best way to go. Now, you might have a different opinion. You might say, oh, no, I love my Rand McNally, or I love using Atlas, and that's cool. The beauty is we can all have our opinion about that stuff. But honestly, I think to me, and what would work for me is a tablet and using Trucker Path, and that's what I intend to do. I actually had it on my Amazon cart where I'd saved the 10-inch GPS, the Garmin GPS, and I started thinking, like, why do I really need it? Because a lot of the same features are on Trucker Path, if not more. I have more features on the Trucker Path, stuff that I'm actually going to use, not this other crap that it's got built in. I remember going through the options of that thing, and it just had a ton of shit that I'm just not going to use on the Garmin GPS. I mean, to me, it just doesn't make any sense. So, all right, guys, this video got a little bit longer than I wanted to. I had to wait. My wife had come home for lunch, so we made some sandwiches and whatnot. Yeah, I think tonight is probably going to be pretty basic night. I think we're going to make egg sandwiches, egg salad sandwiches, she called them. So we'll probably watch a movie, something like that. My trainer did text me earlier today about 12? Was that 12? Asking when I'm coming back to the truck. It actually would have been today. I actually got to take care of some stuff with my family. Nothing with my immediate family. It's more other stuff going on. But got to take care of that. So I'll be leaving Friday. I'll be good to go. So, guys, I want to thank you guys for all your support. I'm gonna also add my email, the company email, and the ECAM Transport Facebook group information there at the bottom in the description. That way, you guys can email us if you guys have questions. If you guys need help with something, or maybe you got a question about my logo, or maybe you just want to talk and maybe you just need some help, or and anything really, just you can email us. I forgot that YouTube took away the direct messaging aspect of it. This is back in the day. I'm old. I just turned 35 last week. My birthday was April 20th. So yes, 420. Oh, it's so funny. So yeah, my birthday was last week, Thursday. I just turned 35. So I'm an old guy. Back in my day, YouTube was like where people would post funny videos and you could respond to them and stuff like that and send them messages, but they took away that feature. So you gotta think of other ways to do it. So we'll do that. We'll put the email in there. That way you guys can email us if you have questions, comments, or concerns. Guys, like, share, and subscribe to the video. Share it with everybody you know. I honestly probably should change the name of this channel to some no nonsense trucking or something like that, because that's just the way I am. I try to give you the point of view from a real person, not like this, some far off land and, ugh, I'm not trying to do all that. I just try to be, just be me, whether people like that or not. I'm a pretty cool dude. So if you ever, I've always said in my videos, you always see me at a terminal, or if you see me at a truck stop and just want to talk for a few minutes or whatever, I'm down. Hit me up. Guys, be safe, keep the wheels down, and I appreciate all the love and support. We'll catch you on the next one.